Hampshire, England, 1955. On the morning of February 23rd at 8:30 a.m., bricklayer Frederick Briggs is riding his bike when he encounters a startling sight. An enormous object in the sky above his employer's estate.
He said this thing was huge. It was hovering a short distance above the ground. Some sort of column descended, and a figure emerged, a humanoid figure wearing some sort of dark uniform and perhaps wearing a hat or a helmet. And at one point, he talks about a force knocking him off his bicycle and holding him down. And he talks about the UFO as having windows around the side of it and seeing a strange light. It's a quite extraordinary account.
This close encounter event was so remarkable to Fred Briggs that he thought it was necessary to tell the actual owner of this estate. And that just so happened to be Lord Mountbatten, who was the uncle of Prince Philip, who was married to Queen Elizabeth.
At the time of the sighting, Lord Louis Mountbatten, former Governor General of India, was the first Sea Lord of the British Royal Navy.
This is a UFO sighting at the home of one of the most senior figures in the British establishment.
We know so much about this because they recorded the whole thing. They actually took a statement from the bricklayer. Lord Mountbatten wrote up a report. They all signed them all.
This apparently was a very credible account, according to Lord Mountbatten, and he talked extensively to Prince Philip about this. I mean, you have to assume this whole thing went through the entire royal household. You have to assume Queen Elizabeth knew all about this.
Lord Mountbatten would have access as friends and colleagues to the people in the MOD who were keeping the secret information about UFOs and ETs. And that is my guess, is the fuel that kept Prince Philip so interested, because they were telling each other, this is real, this is true.
While the royal family was secretly investigating UFOs in the 1950s, so too was the British government. In 1988, researchers unearthed a 5-page report from 1951, buried in the National Archive, detailing the findings of a group called the Flying Saucer Working Party.
One of the British government's first forays into the whole UFO mystery was the Flying Saucer Working Party. It examined a range of UFO sightings, mainly reported by military witnesses.
The Flying Saucer Working Party met briefly for about 12 months. It comprised of 5 scientists, and it was originally met in October of 1950, and by June of 1951 had produced a report. And the report basically said, we're going to debunk it following America's lead.
I've always interpreted this report as orders from above. You know, someone said, look, we don't need the lower levels to start getting worked up over these UFO reports.
The Flying Saucer Working Party was shut down following the 1951 report, but it inspired interest from prominent figures within the British government and led to further investigations.
In 1952, Winston Churchill, back as Prime Minister in the UK, said to the Air Ministry and to his chief scientific advisor, what does all this stuff about flying saucers mean? Just the year after Churchill wrote that memo, the Ministry of Defense actually set up the UFO program where I worked in later years. The government's official position was, there's nothing here to suggest a reality to the phenomenon. I think the reality behind closed doors was very different. And there have always been those of us who felt this was an extremely serious defense and national security issue.
Why is it that after decades of denial, the UK is now disclosing information about its leadership's true fascination with the alien question? Whatever the reason may be, ancient astronaut theorists believe the British government's level of interest goes far beyond mere curiosity. Recently declassified documents suggest elite special agents were assigned to covertly investigate the country's infamous UFO files.